Before we can solve our problem, we first need to talk about the difference between models and collections. And to do that, we need to look at the two different response structures that often occur in REST APIs. So if we tried to create, update, get, or destroy a resource, all of these endpoints return a single resource. So they all have a similar data structure, and when they return data, it's all going to look the same. But if we wanted to find data, so we wanted to make a request to get a list of posts in this example, that data structure returns multiple resources. In Lore, models are responsible for dealing with endpoints that return a single resource, and collections are responsible for interacting with endpoints that return multiple resources. And to talk about how to solve our problem, we're going to focus on this example endpoint for finding posts. If this endpoint did in fact return an array, there wouldn't be any problem. Lore would already know what to do with that because it sees it's an array and it knows how to break it down into individual models and store them. The challenge that we're dealing with is the fact that the response structure we're getting is not an array. It's in fact an object because we need to store metadata information regarding pagination. So in this case, the data that we want to extract is inside this data property. So to solve our problem, we need to tell Lore that that's where the array of data actually is. To do that, we're going to look inside the config folder, but this time we're going to focus on collections instead of models. Similar to models, collections has some properties that can be overridden, and these will apply across the whole application. Like models, there is also a headers function that you can use to pass in headers that should be sent to those endpoints. And in this case, the function we're especially interested in is parse. And so parse is the way that you can manipulate data coming from the server before the framework tries to deal with it. And the problem that we're dealing with here is we're passing attributes directly through. So we're taking whatever data we get from the server and we're passing that into the rest of the framework to sort of parse and chop apart. To solve our problem, we just need to update this function and extract the array out of data, and the framework will know exactly how to handle it. So let's switch over to code and do that. So in this step, what we want to happen is when the application loads and it makes that call to fetch the tweets, we want to remove this error. So we're going to go over to the code and we're going to go into the config folder and we're going to open up collections. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we can find the parse method. And I'm going to uncomment that. And instead of just directly passing in the server response, I'm going to say attributes.data, and I'm going to save that. And so we want it to extract this array out of the data structure. So now if we refresh the page, our error is gone. And if we close the developer tools, we can see that the first 5 tweets were fetched and are being displayed. So that's pretty cool, and that was super easy. So in the next step, we're going to look at fixing the avatar and the nickname, as not all of these tweets were actually said by the same person.